Welcome to episode 2 of the Training With podcast with myself, Matt, and co-host Jay Bright.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Today we've got the lovely Emelye Dwyer to my right. First real episode, so if it's crap, you can just tell us to stop and we'll go home early,
yeah,
and we'll finish off there.
But as we're introducing a new presenter, probably not.
Well, yeah, we were just saying that. Well, you're going to hear in a minute, but Emily's got a pretty cool voice on the microphone, so there may be 3 presenters moving forward, but
and it's
we'll
so bizarre because the sound of my own voice normally makes me cringe beyond anything. So if you guys think it sounds all right, then
sounds good.
Cool.
Sounds good. We'll see how many likes this gets.
or just the voice.
The thumbs down. Well, we've got pretty boring voices as well, so
yeah, it doesn't help. So, so for those that don't know, Emelye is a CrossFit athlete. Went to regionals in 2018, I think it was. Came second in the Open 2019.
Yeah? Oh, yeah, I did.
7th in 2020.
2020.
In
the UK.
Yeah, in the UK, yeah.
Cool. Had a top, what was it, in 2018, top 50 finish.
Yeah, and that was the...
Worldwide.
Worldwide. And then also the Open before that, you know, the 2-parter with the heavy clean, the dumbbell squats. That was a double take, that workout. So the first time I did it, the first part of the score would have put me, I think it was something like 5th worldwide. The dumbbell squats and the over dumbbell or the under burpees. But the squat clean wasn't good enough. So we had to redo for me to try and get a bigger squat clean. But then the first part put me 9th worldwide, but the squat clean meant that I actually then qualified as an individual for the European regional. So it was kind of it was swings and roundabouts in terms of the finish. But
2018.
Yes, that Open. Yeah, that was that one.
And that's the year you went to regionals.
Yes, yeah, I went with the team.
In Berlin, I think that one was.
It was Berlin, yeah. Gorgeous city.
Never been. No, never been. Went to the Madrid regionals. That was lovely. Went to Copenhagen when it was there, just purely as a spectator.
Yeah.
But it's nice. Never been.
You didn't need to say that.
Yeah. Well, no, because someone's going to fact check this and be like, "This twat. What's he saying? He's been to regionals all these times." But
I RX'd the participation in the audience.
In the audience,
you did really well at it. As well.
Yeah. My clapping was on the money.
I was the bald guy in the audience with the beard, the only one there.
Cool. So to start off with, if you could just do a little intro about you, your background, how you got into CrossFit. I think that'd be pretty cool for those that don't know.
Yeah, sure, no worries. So I kind of like a much further background. Mm-hmm. Grew up in the theatre and performing arts world. Mum's in theatre, sister was at the time. It was always kind of a given that that's what I was going to go and do. And I loved it. I love my singing and my dancing, and I love getting into plays. I love watching theatre and going to the theatre, even still. But I had a lot of kind of unsavoury health issues. A lot of them kind of compounded by the theatre industry, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So I went away for a bit after I'd had a stay in hospital, got into hospitality, worked in motorsport. Then came back, started to get back into theatre, worked on a radio station for a while. My CV is pretty weird.
I was going to say, that is extensive.
That is all over the place.
There's not much correlation between certain jobs on my CV, but I'm so grateful for that. It's a melting pot that's made me who I am today.
Of course.
So, but I got into fitness when I came back off my very last theatrical tour. I was a bit out of shape. So I went through a kind of a detox process, got into training, got really into bodybuilding. I saw this girl that just looked absolutely phenomenal in the gym. Said, I want to look like her, to one of the personal trainers. One of the personal trainers went, hey, I like you. And then before I knew it, my heart was broken. And I left that gym quite swiftly. Cool. So that's when I fell into CrossFit. And I think, as with any kind of broken heart, it makes you very good at the next thing you do. You know, they say broken hearts make bodybuilders, right?
Because you put everything into the next thing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. You need that change of focus. And so I put everything into my first initial days in CrossFit, and I loved it. It was phenomenal. Some of those earlier days were probably some of the best experiences I ever had in CrossFit, because I didn't know my potential.
Yeah.
At that point, I had nothing to prove to anybody, least of all myself. And it was all just about this participation in this new thing that I'd never experienced before. And it was so, all encompassing. I did everything. I got the long socks. I posted pictures of hand
sleeves, the wrap.
It was being a Waterboard best dream.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Our target audience. I shouldn't say that. That's not our target audience.
You've got it on here now. So.
All the gear is right here. But no,
we have got new sleeves and wraps coming out very soon.
plug. No, I got very into it, and in my first open, I kind of only did 3 out of the 5 workouts, I think, because I wasn't overly sure what the open was. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to do the fitness. And then I kind of had a lot of the initial skills quite early on. I had a lot of beginner's gains, like I could do handstand push-ups in my first session, just purely because I'd never stopped doing handstands throughout theatre and dance. Right. But some of the other stuff, as Matt will probably tell you, is still even yet to come to me. So high skill gymnastics, obviously. It was very much initially a heartbreak kind of therapy.
Mm-hmm. But why CrossFit? What led you there?
Somebody said I just love what they did in there. It was purely by accident. I had no idea what CrossFit was until I went into a gym, and I didn't even know what it was after I left that gym, if I'm completely honest. And I don't think I really knew what it was until a couple of months in, entirely. Yeah. I just knew that they did WODs, and I enjoyed these WODs. And it was only through attending and doing classes that it sank to me. I was very ignorant to it, but I just loved the suffering. I still do now.
Yeah, but, you can. When did we first meet? 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And you can suffer. I remember watching you do a workout, but it only lasted about 5 minutes. Yeah. And you really, really push. They were really hard. And I remember watching, thinking, that's why I'm never going to be good at CrossFit, because I can't do that.
Which is a shame, because
I try it, but I'm just,
technically you've got all the ability there. But
we actually probably did a little swap.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I'd love some of that ability right now.
Yeah. Do you think, so that, going back to the theatre and dance and stuff I think you did, do you think that helped a lot coming into CrossFit with the kind of awareness of the movements and how your body works and that kind of stuff?
Definitely, that physical awareness, the ability, and that real kind of deep aerobic base that people, historically didn't really train. I guess the long endurance aerobic training only kind of came into a lot of CrossFit programming maybe slightly later in the game, and was kind of the deal breaker for a lot of people as to how
they... That was a kind of Miko Salo
kind
of thing, wasn't it? Just long aerobic.
Oh, the triangle.
Everyone's...
Yeah, have you done the triangle?
I love the triangle. It's just 40 minutes of suffering, isn't it? It's just great.
Yeah, it's not for me.
I remember, going off topic, Miko just used to sit in a closet with a rower and the lights off. I think I've seen a video with him doing that. Dark video, but just sitting on the...
you think you could see the video anyway?
I think I can see it.
He wasn't even rowing, he wasn't even in there.
I was going to say,
you just said he was.
I saw a video of a closet, and it might have been Miko in there. But he just said he used to sit in there just rowing. And that's that kind of, around that time was when the aerobic base stuff started coming out.
Yeah. It definitely, obviously, long dance shows and, musicals, you've got an hour and 10, one half, and an hour and whatever the other half. And a lot of dance numbers in there when you're having to, hold yourself in you're wearing a little corset with a little dress, depending on obviously what show you're doing, or you might be in, you could be in anything really, couldn't you? But trying to breathe and sing and hit high notes and dance your heart out and smile at the same time, you definitely develop some form of stamina and incorrect breathing patterns for weightlifting, which is not so helpful.
I suppose there's a competitive element in dancing as well, because you want to be the number one. You want to be the lead, so to speak. So is that where you got that element from?
Definitely. I've always been extremely competitive, extremely so, and sometimes to my detriment, and always very driven. The problem is with theatre and performing arts is it's extremely subjective. You walk into a room with a pianist and 3 dudes behind a table, and 2 of them think that you are, can I swear?
Yeah.
Two of them think you are the shit, and one of them thinks you're shit. But the one that thinks you're shit is unfortunately the one who's going to give you a cross or a tick. So it can be very tough, the rejection of it. Whereas in CrossFit, everything's very binary. Yeah. So you've got times for things, you've got weights, you see progression. And I think that is what makes it so addictive, because you have that adherence, you have that natural adherence when you can see growth, right?
Yeah, and you can't hide behind anything.
Exactly. There is nowhere to hide. Yeah. So you're either the fittest, the fastest, and the strongest, or you're not.
Or you're not. Yeah.
Do you think on the mindset side, because like theatrical stuff and dance can be pretty ruthless sometimes, like you said. Do you think that helped coming into CrossFit or made it worse in the beginning, at least?
I think in the beginning it really helped because I had that. I could kind of relate to the hard work, and it's hard to say because I went through a stage where it really fell back, and actually initially where I kind of fell off the radar with my performing arts is when I got my first elements of rejection. So I was quite poorly when I went for my final theatre school interviews, and it was in the bag that I was going to go. You know, it was the place was mine. And even after, so they actually said you can't come in September, you're too poorly. And I only know this now, having been told after the event, because I was too poorly to understand. And it was that I took it as complete rejection, not as, I took it as you're not good enough to be here, not you're too poorly to be here. We're going to hold your space for a whole year because we want you. You deserve to be here. I took it as rejection, and that's what made me absolutely nosedive.
Yeah.
I have drawn on that since, and obviously in CrossFit, I've had a couple of knockbacks over the last 18 months or so, and a few of those things have really hit me. So I have been able to lean on them and draw from that experience in theatre, but I've had to very much rely on my awesome mindset coach, Emma, who has helped me to reframe some of the things I've been through and understand the benefits of the adversity that I've been through, as opposed to it being a victim mentality. I think
it's almost changing your perception about whether something creates a negative or positive.
Yeah,
is that kind of the
completely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it completely, but
no, not at all. It has to be accessible to people to understand. Not all of us are obsessed with neurology, and I'm not overly knowledgeable about it, but I love learning about brain science. Yeah. But no, you're right. It's not seeing failure as a knockback, but seeing failure as the learning itself. Mm-hmm. It's in failure that we grow. Without the failure, we cannot grow because you don't learn anything. Yeah. So she refers to adversity in life and training or whatever as being, building calluses on the mind, and the same akin to you build calluses on your hands. So that in itself makes you more resilient.
And how long have you been working with her?
I started working with Emma about a year and a half ago. Yeah. And it has been a wonderful journey. So
have you looked back and seen the person, well, I suppose this is all part of it anyway, looking back and seeing the person you were then and how you dealt with things compared to how you deal with things now? Definitely. Have you seen a massive change?
Difference. Yeah. And it's often as well that you say you don't see the change in yourself, but other people see it in you. Every time I've gone home, my parents or my sister have gone, gosh, like the way in which you talk about things now and reflect on things and are able to be really quite objective in situations. The growth in you has been phenomenal, and it's not just had a great effect on my training, my ability to apply it to my programming or whatever, but also in my life, so my relationships and my work and my friendships and my family, which it's great, because if you do enhance one area of your life, hopefully the others will enhance as well. So it's been very helpful.
It's actually probably hard you can't really excel at one area of your life without having everything else in place, really. Right, over time, things start to get boiled down.
If you do start excelling in one road, going down one street with it, and you haven't got everything else in check, that takes a massive decline.
Yeah, it's like a hole in the bucket, isn't it? Yeah, really, or not having all the cups completely full.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I always find kind of business-wise is if you pursue one thing and try and pursue something else and something else and something else, there's never going to be one thing that is is at a good level, a good standard.
Yeah.
So I struggle with this, trying to kind of refrain from moving too quickly and just make sure that I've got all my eggs in the right baskets before I move on to the next step.
Bit like CrossFit then, really, isn't it? Like
Exactly.
you're good at everything.
Yeah. I'm really good at weightlifting. Yeah, I'm not good at that. Yeah, but it's like, but again, cherry pickers is it's kind of the same principle as you're good at something, so you pursue that, but everything else falls by the wayside. So gymnastics or aerobic capacity or anything like that.
Definitely lean into the things that you feel more comfortable doing, because it makes you feel good when you do it and you're doing well. You're like, oh, I can do this.
So what is your comfort zone in training?
Anything upside down. I love being upside down. My comfort zone, the long aerobic stuff. I love running. And kind of smashing myself in the face with running as well, as Andy described it. I still struggle very much with heavy loads on the barbell and ring work. So I've put in a lot of work into rings and high bar, unfortunately with a lot of those things, you do need to accumulate volume, especially in volume. Sorry, I'm enunciate my words properly. Otherwise, I'm never going to get a job as a presenter with you, am I?
The interview is...
She's slipping. Yeah. This is because I've been back in Essex an hour or so. It's coming back to me now. With strict gymnastics, it has to be, I don't know if Matt will agree, you do seem to need a lot more volume in those to develop them. Yeah. So...
You can't really, you don't really progress with gymnastics through intensity, really. To be honest, I mean, you can progress like higher skill attainment, which is kind of intensity. But in CrossFit, at least, you don't need advanced skills. You get to a very basic skill level, and you're just able to do that for lots and lots of reps, or lots of reps in a short period of time,
whilst blowing out your
And for that, you need volume. The rings are always tough because it's just a different ball game because of the natural instability of the rings.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that come into play with it as well. Like we were talking about earlier in the gym here. Length of straps, all things like that, and you just
stability of the rig. I mean, you've seen how
fixed the floor when you haven't drilled it into the floor.
Sandbags will do. Let me be.
And a nice smashed up patio.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
Go on.
So what's the goal now? So I guess you came into CrossFit and probably at some point realised you were pretty good, whether that was before regionals or when you got to regionals or whatever it was. Is the goal to go to the games, compete at that level, or is it more on a kind of personal development? You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just lean back a bit.
Get comfy.
Sorry for people listening, I was just fannying around with a microphone then.
That's right, they can see. There's a camera.
Oh yeah, well, people who aren't watching, I suppose. So I think with any athlete who is driven and hungry for their sport, they all, we all want to get to the absolute pinnacle. We all want to go to that biggest stage. But of course, there's been a lot of instability this year in our sport or our brand of sport, as it were, because obviously functional fitness, you can only brand it, I suppose. Like, well, I guess you can brand things like baseball and whatever as well, and basketball, because there are brands of that. But I mean,
fitness racing.
Exactly. I don't need to go into the details of it for everyone to understand. It's been pretty well publicised. At the moment, I'm kind of treading water, really, if I'm honest, waiting to see what's going to happen, when things are going to be scheduled for. I am already scheduled to attend a sanctional next year off the back of one being cancelled this year. So we'll see if that can go ahead with the dates and everything when that's all sent out. I'm trying to really dial in on and enjoy the process of getting better, as I don't have an end goal at the moment. Not that I can see. Yeah. So I'm trying to enjoy that a little bit more, because I definitely lost my way with that. I think it comes from me narrowly missing out that year so closely. I mean, for it to be, essentially what was a few reps in one workout perhaps, or just 2 kilos on a barbell or whatever, it does make you sit there and go, God, I was so close. But it also gives you that real sense of defeat, and you start to really question. And everyone was saying to me, after last year, this is your year. It's your year this year. This year is now your year. And you tell yourself that, and you tell yourself that story. And then when that doesn't happen, the instant self-talk comes back to you and says, it was never meant to be.
Of course, because everyone's telling you that this is your year, and it kind of works to your detriment sometimes as well, because if you miss that, then it's like, well, I was told that it was a sure thing, kind of like you getting into performing arts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, on the money.
Yeah, and then you go through it over and over again. But to get to that point where you're only a couple of reps off, it's a massive feat. So potentially, it could. Yeah. The next year could potentially be your year.
And I feel like I was so far off last Open. I had some pretty bad medical issues the week or so before that. I was actually told I wasn't allowed to do any physical exercise for 2 weeks. But the Open was 5 days after I was told that. So, I'm doing it. I'm going in.
Whoops.
Watch this and hold my beer. Hold my protein.
Oh, yeah.
To be so far off on that Open from where I was, the story I'm telling myself in my head is that's it. You're washed up. You're done. You're finished with. And when you tell yourself something enough, you start to believe it. And it becomes really disempowering. And people say, oh, think positively. It's like, oh, I can't. Which, again, is further disempowering. And I think this is when it comes down to having a really good support network and not listening too much to what other people say, and having, a real short list of people whose opinions you trust and who you value, and also not focusing on what other people are doing, because we all know we don't show our shit bits on Instagram, do we?
And you can't control it either.
No, I can't control that so-and-so's lifting more than me.
No. No.
So, it's been a case of narrowing down a very short list of people whose opinions I care about and who matter to me, and like an athlete support team, as it were. Because hell knows, we don't, as an individual athlete and a team, you can't get to the top alone. You have to have other people around you to support you, a coach in my experience, my coach, my mindset coach, my advisor, come friend / manager of other top athletes. He's a wonderful man. My nutritionist. That's literally it. 4 people.
Thing is, you need to value their opinion, so that a short list, if you valued everyone's opinion and they kind of cross paths and they're not all on the same wavelength, then where do you go from there? If you've got your short list, you value them, whatever they say, you're probably going to listen to and act upon.
Yeah, completely.
So it's easier said than done as well, though, isn't it? It's like people say don't listen to the news because there's so much fake news and negative stuff, and but it's when somebody says something to you, it's hard not to listen.
Or listen to them.
Even if you know you shouldn't listen, you don't value that person's opinion, and even if you know they're wrong, it still sits in the back of your...
But then you find a news channel that you actually think, right, it's unbiased.
Yeah.
This is something I can actually get some information out of.
Yeah.
Some real value.
And when it comes to opinions, I heard something fantastic the other day that really resonated, and I've not forgotten it. And it says, don't take opinions or advice and negativity from anyone you wouldn't take advice from. So if you wouldn't go to that person for advice, don't ever take any slight on yourself.
Did you repost that? Did you post that? Someone I saw that.
Did you?
Yeah, last week I saw that. I'm not sure who posted it.
But isn't that such a valuable thing to remember?
Yeah.
It's like, that person's an asshole. I'm not going to go to them for advice. Yeah. Why am I worrying about their opinion of me? First of all, it's none of my business.
100%.
But it's 100%. Their reality of me. They've made this reality of the person that I am or whatever. I mean, we're going into personality now, I suppose. Yeah. But even still, it still comes down to it, because personality, character of an athlete, whatever. Yeah.
What do you think about... because the big thing at the moment is like positive affirmations, right? And there's lots of kind of like self-help and life coaches and stuff that do a lot around positive affirmations, right? It's almost, you kind of alluded to it a bit earlier. It's almost whether you think something positive or negative. If you keep thinking it over and over again, and there's enough emotion that goes into it, then you start to really believe it, and then it starts to become a reality. Yeah,
it becomes. They say, practice makes perfect, perfect make practice, and repetition, makes permanent. It's the same thing as that. If you say something to yourself enough, you do start to believe it, because you get into that feedback loop.
Yeah.
So one of the things, again, that my mindset coach has got me to do is I don't think it's a surprise to anyone. I think most people know that I suffered with a really bad eating disorder, and I still struggle now. When I'm going through a stage of trying to increase my food intake, and especially through lockdown, really struggling with that. I repeat something to myself when I have my cold shower every morning that I've really missed having not been at my place when I can have cold water.
I love a cold shower. I actually think it's one of the best things that I do every day. It doesn't say much about my life, but that's like, that is, I just love it in the morning. I think it's the best thing in the world.
I couldn't keep it up. I now go from the hot and gradually make it cold.
That's
so
torturous.
It's a shock to the system, gradual shock to the system, and then it goes back to warm. But I just can't. I don't know. Just a pure cold shower. That's why I'm not
even have a cold shower.
That's why I'm not at the peak of performance.
Well, you've got to stand under it with the water off. Make sure it's switched to cold, and I use a WOD timer. So I have it on the side and I press go. I've got a 10-second countdown. I get the boop, boop, and I turn it on and I'm facing it. The cold water hits me and I'm in there for 3 minutes. It has to be like, I have the timer purely because otherwise I'll stay in there for hours. Not hours, but you know, and then I can't get my temperature up for the rest of the day. So 3 minutes is kind of my limit for my own health, really. But it's clarifying. It's that moment where you just got that time. And like I was saying about the affirmations, I repeat to myself, my body is a weapon. It's my vehicle of choice. I choose to fuel it well. And I tell myself that over and over again. I repeat it and I repeat it. And I've even written it on the mirror in dry erase marker.
Really?
Yeah, which it wipes off, but whenever the mirror gets steamed, you can still see it after it's... So it's going to be there forever, really. So, oops.
Whoever lives in the house next, we'll see that.
Stop with it, unless you change your mirror.
They're going to have a great mindset. They're going to love their body.
There's a WOD timer in the shower. It's only set to cold.
But it has very much helped. It's helped me to, make myself that breakfast when I haven't wanted to. Because the other thing that comes with that is being in a fasted state is quite euphoric, of course. So, or the creation of BDNF in the brain. But then we're going into brain geek science, and we're not here for that. So
how big is your team? So I say team, but your immediate coaching and help.
4 people, really. So I've got my coach and programmer, lovely Andy Edwards, who we talked about earlier, took both of us for our level 1, which was madness.
So we basically found out earlier that we went to the exact same level 1. I think, Carl Steadman, Andy Edwards, Sam Briggs.
Yep.
Can't remember who else.
Sam Briggs wasn't taking it. She was participating.
She was
participating.
Yeah. Hers had expired.
Okay. Yeah.
She's a busy girl, man. Being one of the fittest women in the world. Yeah. She ain't got time for level 1.
Yeah. Except when it comes to like doing the Fran at the end, it's like, I don't even want to do it in front of her. Because by this time she'd already won
faking
games.
Injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my knee. Oh.
Yeah, I can't do that every time. My knee, but I thought it was your shoulder yesterday. Yeah, that too.
Both. Yeah, it's catching.
Yeah. So you got.
So I've got Andy. He's based out in Wales, and I've got Emma Hackett of Limitless Coaching, and then I also turn to a lovely guy who we all call Snorri, who is an brilliant Icelandic bloke.
I think I might have met him. Is he a photographer?
No.
It's just a different...
different snoddy.
Yeah.
It's that other snoddy.
Oh.
No, he's a fantastic... he's a manager to a lot of top elite athletes. He looks after them in lots of different sports, but he advises me, has my back in a lot of situations. He'll kick anybody off who's giving me hassle. Yeah, he's turned out to be a real confidant.
Nice.
And other than that, I work with Tim Briggs of We Dominate Nutrition. And Tim was actually my very, very, very first sponsor when I first started CrossFit. When I said, I want to go to regionals. I hadn't even done a complete open at this point. But I said, this is how much I've managed to achieve in X amount of time. Will you help me get to where I want to be? And he took a chance on me. And he's looked after my nutrition since then. And he's had my back. Whenever I'm having a struggle, he's always there. So I always turn to him for advice. Yeah.
That's nice. It makes a difference, doesn't it? When the people that believe in you at the beginning, it's easy to jump on when you're in the hype and it's going well. But it's the people at the beginning that really stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you're loyal to those people. Yeah.
Oh, I'm fiercely loyal to Tim, yeah. I've had a lot of other nutrition companies approach me as well. And, some very, very big ones, offering big sums of money. But I want to be with somebody who has my interest as a human being at heart and not what I can give them on a social media platform. And I do feel like all of those people care about me as Emelye as well as Emelye the athlete. And they are 2 different people. When I'm in a workout, I'm I'm a bit of an asshole sometimes. There's very different people, but I'm not as personable as I am now, for sure. So
you wouldn't be, because your focus.
Yeah, completely.
That's your drive. You see the end goal through that workout, and no one's ever the same. You can't be jokey, friendly kind of in the middle of a workout. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So obligations from sponsors, has any of that got in the way of training, or do you manage that quite well? Has there been that many obligations?
When you say obligations, you mean commitments to
the brand, what they've asked you to do, or is it all kind of nice, relaxed, everything goes smoothly?
I think on the whole, I can't really think of anything where we've had massively unsavory experiences. I'm very picky about who I work with. Signing my contract with My Protein, for example, from first discussing with them and shooting all the Forever Fit stuff, it took me until February to sign with them. And we shot the stuff in the beginning of November.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that I believed in all their products. So I wanted to test stuff out, and I suffer with my digestion as well as a result of eating disorders. That's a whole nother podcast, to be honest. So I wanted to make sure that I fully believed in what they were doing before I went on with them, and also that I liked them as people. And obviously, lo and behold, I do. The companies I work with, other than My Protein, they're not massive multi-conglomerates. It's not like, Virus, although they're international and extremely well-respected, they've actually got a very small team. And I know pretty much all of them by name. It's a nice personal relationship. And I like to have that connection as well. I think because I am quite an airy-fairy person like that, I love having that human and personal connection with people that I work with. And if I don't feel like I believe in them as people, I don't really want to work with them. I've recently signed 2 more sponsors. I haven't launched yet, so I always say launched, you know what I mean, announced properly. And again, because they're good people, not necessarily because I think they can get me loads of stuff or give me loads of cash, but because they're good people and I believe in what they do and they want to do good and I want to do good. And I think I've had good experiences because of those decisions I've made. Yeah.
It's also the best for them as well, right? Because if you don't really believe in the product, you can see through it.
There's no authenticity.
There's no authenticity.
That's why with generally our sponsors, we work with them to create our products rather than make it, here you go, wear it, get the photos taken, we'll just post it on Instagram, all of that kind of stuff. When we were a lot smaller, it was just get in contact with everyone, just see kind of initially who just says, we're willing to work with you. But then you kind of want to be like, well, we actually want to give you something in return for what you can provide, like a mutual, not agreement, but something that's beneficial for the both of you. And I just think there's too many people, too many companies nowadays that are just throwing the money at a well-known athlete and just hoping for the best and just saying, right, wear our stuff, here's your money, and we're done with you. And I think that you've taken the right approach to things, and I think that's how we prefer to do things as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You kind of have a bit of responsibility as well, I think, to an extent, don't you? Because people will see you post about My Protein as an example, and then they'll go and buy My Protein or they use that product. And if you don't really know what their products are like, you haven't really used them before, tested them, and you don't like their compcy and their culture and that kind of stuff, it is a bit irresponsible as well.
If you put your name to it as well.
That's probably the problem with social media in general, actually, is there's too much of that. Too much of that stuff.
Like, say, My Protein, if you put your name to it, and they don't like it, they think it's awful. Why have they been promoting this? Then your name gets tarnished.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't want that.
You lose the authenticity in yourself as well, don't you? And that's one of the things I want to always be unapologetically myself. And if I feel like I'm selling out to something, then I can't do that. And I do turn people away. I'm not inundated with offers all the time. I'm not like having people throw themselves at me at all, not in the slightest. And it's always appreciated because we're humans. We thrive off of that feeling of being needed, right? But I'm always grateful to stuff, but I do say no to a lot of people. But with My Protein, especially, because I'm vegan, and proudly so, I needed to make sure that there was also enough variety with what they did, and I liked their morals and their integrity surrounding that. And it's been, they do a lot of stuff. So really, I feel very lucky, actually. I'm quite, I'm lucky to work with them. I feel like, and they always say that they feel that they're lucky to work with me. So there's a lot of love there. It's a nice love relationship.
Do you find being vegan has affected your growth as an athlete? Has it prohibited you from, I don't know, there's a kind of the mindset of, there's not enough protein being vegan and stuff like that, without supplementing. And
there's a stigma of like you need animal meat to get
What are your views on it? Has it enhanced your performance even?
It's so funny. When I first signed with Andy, started working with him, I said to him, whatever you throw at me, I'll do. I will literally do anything it takes to get better. And he went,
hamburger.
He went, even eat a steak. And I went, maybe not everything. I have my limits. I don't feel like it's held me back at all. Energy wise, I mean, I've got medical issues where I don't absorb a lot of things. I don't make my own enzymes, basically. I don't make any kind of stomach acid, so I have to take enzymes. So in terms of nutrition-wise through a vegan diet, I haven't seen any dips. If anything, I've seen increases in my... the quality of my sleep has been so much better. I mean, I've been vegan for such a long time now. I went back to having animal products for a while before I kind of knew the different things that I was in fact allergic to, and I felt very limited. So it would literally be, I mean, this doesn't make it any better that it was only white fish and chicken, but I'm saying that now, I feel really guilty about it. I had it purely out of necessity because I didn't know where else to go at that point because I thought I had a soya intolerance and I had a gluten intolerance. And of course, a lot of vegan proteins are either soya-based or bean-based or seitan, which is not the devil. Unless you eat it and you're me, then it is the devil because it makes me poorly. It's wheat gluten and it's really high in protein and it's delicious as well. But I don't feel like it's stunted at all. And of course, a vegan diet is going to be extremely rich in a lot of very colourful fruits and vegetables, lots of really good carbohydrates. There's a lot of very unhealthy vegans out there. I mean, being vegan does not make a healthy person automatically, but it's the same as having an animal food diet as well. A lot of people eat a lot of crap.
To be honest, there's junk food in both.
Yeah.
Like vegan products that are still manufactured.
Yeah, of course. That's the excuse. That's the reason a lot of people who are kind of on the edge seem to give about not going to a vegan diet. Oh, it's all really heavily processed. And it's like, it's actually really not. And
depends what you get.
Yeah, exactly. And people use the whole idea of, estrogens in soya and stuff, but it's like a case of it's completely different. The body doesn't read it as a hormonal estrogen. It's such a massive myth that it's been debunked loads of times. I haven't got the science readily available in my brain right now for you. But it's, I eat a lot of tempeh, which is like a fermented soybean. It's really nice. Loads of tofu. I have loads of beans, pulses, lentils, whole grains. Of course, blimmin' porridge oats are packed with protein as well. You've got to be, I think a lot of people who do see a dip in their performance don't quite understand the science of amino acids quite fully. If you see it as like a rainbow of colours, animal proteins have a complete rainbow of amino acids. It's quite a nice way to think about it, isn't it?
Good analogy.
Yeah, because it is a piece of flesh, but they made those amino acids out of eating plants, but the right volumes of plants and different things. So the only plant proteins that have a complete rainbow of amino acids profile, that's the right word, is soya, quinoa, and I think there's one other, can't come to me right now. But by matching up certain foods that maybe have red, orange, and yellow, so say rice and peas that have all the other colours, like blue, green, pink, and purple, or indigo and violet, to be really specific, by matching those two things together, you get that complete amino acid profile. So then you get a complete protein. So you can't just say, broccoli has loads of protein. It does, but it's not a complete amino acid profile, so your body can't utilize it. Have it with this. But we've done it instinctively for years. Rice and peas, peanut butter and brown toast.
Yeah.
And there you've got your full profile. So you can do it through a really whole foods diet. I do use shakes, but being an athlete, my protein requirements are much higher than, say, my mum, who walks the dogs for a couple of miles a day. You know, my protein requirements are up here because I'm shredding my body with all these front squats and horrible strict handstand push-ups that he keeps on continually giving me. But you know what I mean. It's supply and demand.
Yeah, of course. So what are your general macro? Are you sticking to a specific macro?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really interesting you should ask me that, actually. So for the last 2 months, Tim and I have been shaking up my nutrition a bit, and we've been eating around my monthly cycle.
Right, okay.
And trying to support myself in a more hormonally friendly way. So in my follicular stage, or the first 2 weeks, so following the last day of my period, starting on the first day of my period, and then up until the day I ovulate, I will have a diet much higher in carbohydrates and a selection of minerals. And then once ovulation occurs, we switch, and my fats, so my carbohydrates come right down, my fats go right up. So the caloric balance is pretty much always the same. Obviously, depending on high volume days, low volume days, rest days, recovery days, all that kind of stuff. All these different things got to juggle. And I'll increase nutrients like magnesium and things like that. So it's been really cool.
That's pretty next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not going to call
They could really geek off on that, but
yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down. But
it's crazy how advanced the science around this stuff is now.
Short space of time as well. Go back 5 years.
Yeah.
Never as advanced as this. Not in a million years.
Well, if you think about it, sport historically has always been very male dominated, and so to have the research in there around women and actually the really major hormonal changes we go through every single month, it was, first of all, it's quite a taboo subject. People don't want to talk about periods. Ugh, gross. But actually, it's so huge in how it affects our strength levels. You know, those few days before I ovulate, and when I'm in my follicular stage, my strength is, it's completely different to how it's going to be in these. Yeah, vastly different.
Hormones?
Yeah, because I mean, the deep science of it, I'm not entirely sure as to why it is. It's something to do with progesterone inhibiting the communications between synapses in the brain. Something around those lines. I remember, I think was it Jowsey? Jowsey spoke to me about it. Somebody, I had a text conversation with a coach a little while back about this, and they were basically explaining to me what happens, because I said I just feel zapped. Like 2 days before my period is when your progesterone absolutely soars. And those 2-3 days before, I don't feel like I could even kind of like rub my head and tap my stomach in the right kind of rhythm, because you just feel all discombobulated and up and down, and like you can't connect anything at all. So it's crazy. Yeah.
It's like, I wonder, because then you think like of competitions and stuff.
Oh,
just like the timing, and it's like if it
falls,
you wonder how much of a difference it makes. Yeah.
And that in itself takes a lot of mindset strength. So I had my last big competition was over my period. And for me, mentally, I struggled with that so much. And obviously not other than the kind of the deep neurological effects that it has with you. You do have a lot of physiological effects as well. You know, you do feel drained, you do feel more emotional, you do often have a lot of cramps, your tits feel like they're going to fall off at times. They're so sore, and like not fall off, but like you want to slice them off. So, and then you're going to go and do 20 chest to bar. Boom, 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 boom.
So in that competition, did you actually feel like you didn't perform as well as you should have?
First day, I had a real struggle. Yeah, I managed to pull a pin on the second day, and I made a massive climb. But on the first day, you know, when you just don't feel like you've got your whole self with you, and it might not just be down to menstrual cycle. It's only upon reflection afterwards I thought, hang on a minute, I wonder if. But there was a lot of things I felt were missing. There were a lot of extrinsic factors as well going on there, politically, I think, as well, with things that were changing in kind of my world and my athlete circle world. But yeah, I think it definitely played a part. But you can't have that in the back of your mind. You can't guarantee when those competitions are going to fall. You know, it's just one of those things that all of us girls have to just suck up, really. We're all in the same one. Most of us are in the same boat.
So I was going to say, it's almost acceptance that you're in the same boat. It's going to happen. It is what it is. And then that's when the mindset thing becomes really important.
It's luck of the draw. Yeah. Really is luck of the draw. So, yeah.
Competition-wise, what is the next? Or actually saying that, seeing as you're not competing at the moment. Has that changed your training at all, or are you still focused on that end goal, but you just don't know when it is, when it's going to happen?
So at the start of lockdown, had a chat with Andy, and we decided we were going to, even though the comps I was going to do, they got cancelled, we decided to follow the peak as normal and do some testing, which was cool. But since then, we've kind of been going back to a much more base building stage. So I'll have like almost kind of mini peaks, as it were. So mesocycles, microcycles, those kinds of things. I've just come out of a deload week, actually, which is very, very nice. He forces deload weeks on me very regularly. So time to take stock. I'm just trying to get better at everything, if I'm honest. Strength is and explosiveness are the areas I struggle with the most. So we've got a lot of explosive kind of work and power work going on there, and all the strict gymnastics you could ever imagine. So,
and how about accessibility to kind of tools like barbells, all that kind of stuff? How's that affected you?
Well, I was extremely fortunate that Moduflex Custom Rigs, brilliant people, Rich and Tracy, they helped me out immediately as soon as kind of lockdown got announced, and have loaned me a rig. So that's in my boyfriend's parents' back garden in their patio. It really ruins the aesthetics of the ambiance of the garden, but I think it looks pretty cool, especially when the sun's kind of setting over it. So I had that because I knew that the things I was going to struggle with were going to be my high skills immediately, and naturally being a bit of a worry and a people pleaser, I panicked. I was like, I need to have access to these things. If I don't get on those things for a week or so, I automatically tell myself that I've lost the ability to do them. I need that constant repetition. I had a barbell already, so it was kind of a case of getting enough load to put that stress on there. And we kind of invested in some kit, my partner and I. So, and he enjoys his training as well. So it was a massive bonus for him that he was going to have a bit of a gym in the back garden. But we've got a bike erg, but no rower. So, and I can't remember the last time I went on a ski erg. That was one of my favourites. So it has been really very trying, character building, I suppose. And I haven't really trained with anybody competitively, I mean, even before lockdown for a long time. I've been quite isolated in my training, and I do think it's had a bit of an effect. I would like to train with competitive people more.
An effect on your mind or physical?
Both, because if you're not being pushed and you can't chase, I'm lucky that I am extremely autonomous, and I think I am able to put myself into a dark place and a hole without having somebody there to chase me. And that's cool for 95% of the time. But when it's been 100% of the time, I do think it's had a bit of a knockback. I'm going to try and see it as extreme adversity, which is going to have an extreme benefit. But I'm at the point now where I'd like to go and I'm ready to train with somebody else, just waiting to find the right place.
And that's kind of the thing about CrossFit, isn't it? When you get into CrossFit, that's one of the things that's good is you are training with other people, you're competing against other people. Everybody puts their scores on the board, and you do. I get that. You kind of miss that part of it, I think.
The camaraderie of it as well, just hearing other barbells banging around.
Yeah. So we're just going back quickly to the, we didn't speak about it, but obviously the instability in CrossFit at the moment, everything, which we don't need to talk about. I think everybody knows what it is. But how do you think, maybe putting that aside, but in terms of the evolution of CrossFit, and when it went way back to when they had the games at the ranch and then they introduced regionals, they took regionals away, now they've got sanctions and that kind of stuff. What do you think? Do you think they're moving in the right direction? And where would you like to see them going in the future?
I don't know if this is a bias because I never went as an individual, but I would like to see a CrossFit run competition as opposed to a third-party sanctional CrossFit affiliated competition, as it were, or sanctioned competition, sorry. I would like to see some CrossFit run competitions at that more, not entry level, but that middle level. I think when they took regionals away, there was a real shake-up in the... I guess there's a big group of girls and boys who are in that mid-level who we're not games veterans, we're kind of, you know, at some point have been knocking on the edge of it. And regionals for us was the absolute, you know, that was the thing. You know, we thought we might not always, you know, might not podium, but getting to regionals was the thing. I don't think, and this is no fault of their own, because the sanctionals I have been to have been so professional and so fantastic. This is not a slight on them. I think this is just a feeling that we get about the sport, that having taken that away has given us that little bit of, woe is me feeling. I don't know. It's.
No, I agree with you. I think I personally loved regionals just to watch. I thought it was. I think it's the most epic competition I've ever.
I think it's because the same workouts at all the regionals. It was a really good barometer. Is that the right word?
And it is like a middle ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then that group, it really keeps them in the sport and motivates them to try and get back there or get to the next level.
Yeah.
And you've kind of, I think they've lost that a bit.
Yeah, because you had games athletes, you had regionals athletes. And people knew they weren't going to the games, but what can I do? I can possibly get to regionals. And that was their games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was.
Yeah, that's true. Even the level below that of people trying to get to regionals.
Yeah.
Now they haven't really got that anymore. But
So it is a shame. The sanctionals have been phenomenal. I didn't want to take anything away from them because, you know, and they really, and some of them quite short notice to produce some really great competitions with some great workouts. But that has been the biggest problem with sanctionals. I think there's no kind of standard of different workouts that has to be. It's so different. Each region, each sanctional is a very different sanctional. It's like, what kind of sanctional athlete am I? Am I a Reykjavik sanctional athlete, or actually am I better going to somewhere like Lowlands? Or so it's become almost different pockets of athletes going. Yeah, definitely. Some of them are more aerobic, and some are more strongman. And
utilising what they've got around them as well.
Exactly. Like running up the mountain in Esja.
Yeah.
Damn, oxygen training would have come in handy, or lack of oxygen training.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about those sanctionals. So you've been, what sanctionals have you been to? You've been over to Reykjavik.
Yes.
Sid?
Yes, I did. I qualified for Sid as an individual. The first year went with the team again, so an athlete program team again. And also, where else did I go? Lowlands in the Netherlands, which was awesome. I'm a massive, massive fan of the Netherlands, especially Amsterdam. But that was a really, really cool one as well. And they had a mile run as the first event. So, you know, I'm buzzing out my front bum.
Yeah.
Can't really say that on a podcast.
I've never heard that one ever in my life.
It just came out.
We can't really use that.
Yeah, well, we can't say
that. Doesn't really work, does it?
Yeah.
You can't, lads. Sorry, that's one thing I definitely have over you there.
So, cool. So what was different about... I can't get back onto topic now.
Sorry.
What was... great. What was different about Lowlands compared to any other sanctional?
Obviously geography. So I think Reykjavik was the biggest thing that was different. It was like being back on stage again. The arena was dark. You couldn't see. Yeah. I was setting a scene. The arena was dark. So you couldn't see
that voice.
any.
That's the
it's
voice.
Like Miko's closet.
Yeah. I'll do the intro for your podcast. That's what I do. So you couldn't see any of the audience members or spectators. They had the big television screen up in the middle of it, kind of like at. Did they have them MMA matches? Or do you know what I mean? The 360 LED screens.
Yeah.
And of course, the first event you were running up a mountain. So I could imagine that maybe the Norwegian sanctional was akin to that in the
that was up the top of a mountain.
Yeah, it's just a different environment, isn't it? You know, the weather is so different that it's just unlike anything we're used to. What we're used to here, it's not that dissimilar, although in terms of kind of climate and stuff, they say that Australia is like a Europe and New Zealand is like a Europe, USA, England. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Norway is like a magical land with lots of snow.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Exactly. It's real different culture as well. And Iceland was the same as that. Mm-hmm. I loved Iceland. I mean, save up all of your money to go because it's very expensive, but it's super cool.
I got there the first day. I went and had a burger and chips, right? But it was a reindeer burger.
Oh, okay.
Because that was just their local, obviously, meat, and which you wouldn't eat. But it would still cost like 20 quid for a burger and chips.
Yeah.
And I suppose, thinking about it, I could still pay that when I go to London to like one of the burger places, like Honest Burger or anything like that. But I just thought burger and chips, 20 quid.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Mad.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, it really, really is. But Lowlands, the first event day was out on a track, so it was kind of track-based stuff, which was really, really cool. It was a very heavy event, Lowlands. I seem to remember it being very, very heavy. And, also, gave me torn abs, which was quite frightening.
Torn abs?
Yeah, I tore
Actually
my abs.
torn?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
What workout?
it was
Double unders.
50, 40, 30, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 GHD sit-ups. Then a 10-meter handstand walk to the same 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 pistols.
Was that not a previous regionals workout?
I don't think with the pistols, didn't. Oh, regionals. Oh, I remember at the games they did GHD and handstand walk, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think. But,
Yes, they did. That was called midline march with overhead lunges.
Yes.
Geek.
Yeah. Cannot remember any work. You asked me
it
any.
was called this.
Yeah.
And this was a time cap. No, you're thinking, you've got that hip flexion and then you've got that midline extension and flexion very, very fast. Yeah. And I have a predisposition to midline issues anyway. I've got a little hernia that pops out.
I remember you telling me.
Remember? Yeah. So to give context there, Matt's given me some coaching in the past for people who are wondering, how does he know all these things about her medical history? And he's desperately tried to improve my ring muscle ups, much to his frustration. But I do get a little hernia that pops out there. I carried in a pregnancy that was when I was much, much younger. And when I came out of that, I didn't really know anything because it wasn't carried full term. I didn't go through the postnatal repairing of the body into fitness, that kind of thing. And it was all very unstable for me at the time. So I didn't really go through the proper medical procedures and processes that one would do after miscarriage. So it's that's where it's come from. So I already had that instability there. So add in all that flexion and all that extension, and then the handstand walks where you're trying to stay extended. And I wondered why in the workout the following that one, why I couldn't climb a rope, why I couldn't bring my knees into my chest. It took me, and it's not as high as the rope you've got here, it's not a 15-footer. It was maybe a 10-foot rope. You know, they get the competition height ropes. It took me 8 shifts to get up to the top of the rope. And it was only on reflection afterwards, and I thought to myself, that's why, because I had absolutely no ability.
Just like hold your weight and bring your knees up.
Yeah.
Was it painful at the time trying to get up? Yeah, it was.
Oh, I was in agony. I couldn't lie on my tummy for 5-6 weeks. I didn't have official tests for it, but my doctor, my osteo, and my coach at the time, they all think I had rhabdo. Because I was very poorly for a while after it, and I didn't really return to kind of my normal self, I'd say, for months and months and months. It took me ages to feel better in myself. I just felt out of it all the time, no energy. I'd fall to pieces. My nutrition was my skin was all over the place. You know all those things are just really out of whack when you're when your
coordination goes off. And
exactly when you're systemically poorly like that. But I didn't really realise, so...
That's pretty savage, because you can't do anything if you've torn your abs.
No.
I can't think of anything that you could do.
Everything revolves around your core in one way or another.
And just like your inability to then be able to hold, keep tension and
it was mortifying.
Cool. Yeah.
And it was a year ago now. It took me... I couldn't do a hollow hold. I remember that. Yeah, it took me till Christmas to be able to do a bar muscle up again. So, and that's a good 7 months. So,
and then it's the confidence as well of being able to kip and let your weight go without worrying about. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be in the back of your mind constantly.
That is a savage combination. GHDs and handstand walk.
Yeah,
because there's the handstand walk mentality in CrossFit where everything goes a bit loose and you're not doing that really hyper extended arch position, which isn't great anyway. And then if you've hammered GHDs and your core is fucked, it's going to be so hard to be in a good position. Yeah.
Final. Have you there's a video of me doing the handstand walking ramp in my pumpkin costume, my inflatable pumpkin costume. Of course there is. And you can actually see my feet hitting my hat, the back of my head as I'm coming over it.
Don't do it to me.
So, I mean, it's fugly.
I mean, for you, it's not, because at least you're flexible.
Oh, I don't have a spine, Matt.
So at least you can kind of get into that position. And but some people that don't have that mobility and then they end up just, it's not good.
The other thing is speed. People think, obviously, well, it does, it works. The further your feet are forward,
it's just weight distribution. You're basically like, when I say handstand walking, especially when you go for speed, you're basically always falling and you're just stepping to catch yourself from actually going over. And it's like the more weight you shift over your hands, as long as you can keep up with your the step in, you just go quick.
And if your shoulders are blowing, you can't keep up, and that's when you break your face. Yeah. But it's very hard to breathe when you're in that position as well. So very hard. But yeah.
So I have the tendency to hold my breath when I handstand walk, or I used to. I've kind of perfected.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah. Oxygen.
You don't need that.
Yeah. But now I've, thanks because of Jack Gymnastics programming, I've
plug.
Oh, was that
yeah. But I have been following it. But I've got. I can't say that. More erect. I can't say that. I'm going to say that.
You've said it now.
Now you made it weird.
Now I've made it weird. But I hold myself a lot straighter.
Yeah.
I can breathe a lot easier.
Yeah.
And everything just, weirdly enough, feels a lot better.
It's the positioning, and you kind of have this natural tendency to hold your breath because you're trying to like keep tension, and the easiest way to do that is just to hold everything in tight. Yeah. But you've got to, like, even more so in CrossFit, because you're doing your handstand walking for a long period of time or doing lots of reps, you've got to get used to keeping that tension but relaxing a bit.
Having
so
a little bubble breath, as it were, so like kind of like trickling it out and trickling it in. Yeah.
I also noticed people when I was coaching, people doing that for wall balls, just holding their breath. I was thinking, why are you holding your breath?
Do you know what? I remember watching years ago, it's a video of Froning, and one of the things in the video is I don't know if he actually counts his breaths or not, but he'd like walk up to a barbell, you'd see him like breathe 2 times or 3 times, whatever it was, go back to the barbell. Same thing, breathe 3 times, go back to the barbell. And it's just like that consistency of that breathing. I think it makes such a difference.
Definitely. Yeah, it's an area I could certainly improve on, for sure. Definitely.
So if we round this off, because we've just hit the hour mark.
An hour?
I went quick.
So fast.
So much shit was talked. Not from you, mainly from us.
Thanks. It's okay, I know how to
we
have
within the quick got a little quick fire that we've
oh yeah.
Let me get mine up.
I love quick fire questions.
Oh, good.
All right.
Hopefully we think they're hilarious, but they're
some of them are really boring, but
well, we did our vocal warm-ups beforehand, so hopefully
how's that go?
If anyone knows Anchorman, they'll know the Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Unique New York.
So this is where the voiceover is going to come from for all future episodes. It is not Matt with his camp voice. It is Emelye. Right, so little quick fire then. Some basic ones, some a little bit more intriguing. Sweet or savoury?
Ooh.
Right, and I should...
Oh yeah, there's 2 rules.
Yeah, there's 2 rules.
You've got to say the first thing that comes to your head. And what was the other rule?
It's got to be quick.
It's got to be quick. So you failed the first one.
Ooh, right, sweet or savoury?
We didn't establish the rules, so right.
Savoury.
Cool. My screen just went off. Cleans or snatch?
Snatch.
Strength or fitness?
Fitness.
House or garage?
Garage.
Night in, night out?
Night in.
What's the cringiest thing you've ever done?
Oh my gosh.
You can think about this one a bit more. That's hard.
Oh God, no! Can you come back to me on that one? Yeah.
What's the most useless talent you have?
Oh, being able to recite every word of a Disney film you've ever seen in your whole entire life. I retain any lyrics. Honestly, like Aladdin is one of my strongest ones. I reckon it's completely useless, and useless facts as well.
Useless facts.
Yeah, really useless facts.
Worst training-related purchase you've made?
You've got to pick one. Can only be one.
And the brand?
Fat Grips.
Actually, that is a good one, because that's the thing that everyone there's always just this pair of Fat Grips that are like lying around somewhere.
As a Chris Redden and a half he'll buy Fat Grips and a bamboo bar.
They're really good for holding your whiteboard markers upside down so you never run
out. How tall do you think Matt is?
Oh, come on.
5'10".
Oh, thank you. I'm not 5'10", but thanks. No, I'm not.
Everyone's taller than me.
I will take 5'10".
Go on, your turn.
Right. Would you rather be too hot or too cold?
Too cold.
Good answer. What would be the name of your movie about you?
Car Crash.
Car Crash? Oh, come on. Okay. Would you rather win the games but only live to 50, or come last at the games but live to 100?
Oh, 50, definitely, because I don't think I want to be 100.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I agree with you there. Yeah, especially if, I mean, there's so many diseases and stuff now as well. If the last 10 years of your life are going to be rubbish, I'm not sure. It's getting a bit deep. Anyway.
So don't worry about it.
I wish I asked that on that.
The terror in Matt's eyes, and he's like, oh my God, don't get us started.
Dwarves don't live that long
Right.
anyway, Matt. You're right.
Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button in your life?
Pause.
Same.
Yeah, you can only, as Emma says, you can only connect the dots looking back. Everything you go through, you grow through.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fine.
Wise words.
Last and most importantly, so you can think about this if you need to. Do you think Jay has a shiny head?
No, he
Jay,
doesn't.
tilt your head down.
No, he really, really doesn't, actually.
Thank you very much.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is like matte, as in not shiny.
Mattified.
Yeah. 10 is like glossy as fuck.
I am sweating a little bit
put
because
your
it's
head
quite
down.
hot
Put your
in
head
here.
down.
It's really hot in it.
Oh, you can see
It's glistening a bit now, isn't it?
It's dewy.
It's
Like a
dewy head.
it's like a crisp autumn morning.
All right, we'll go with the 10.
On my head.
We'll go with the 10.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you,
A
Emily.
great end to
It was a
that.
pleasure.
thanks, guys. It's been an
Have you
absolute
on.
pleasure for me too.
Yeah, thanks for coming down, and yeah, we'll
It's
see
been
you
like
in
this, isn't it?
the next episode with our new host.
Lovely. I very much look forward to it. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been
problem.
good.
Thank you.
Catch
Awesome.
you later.